Great job, everyone. That gets us in the Christmas spirit for sure. Thank you, Ms. Cole. The invocation tonight will be given by Reverend Ryan Ritzman from Crossroads Lutheran Church. Yes. No.
God Almighty, thank you for this day, that we might come together, be your people in this community. Bless these men and women as they serve this community. Bless these children as we raise them in this community. Bless your teachers, your staff, your faculty, all that we might together be your people and your word with your love under your Son, whose name we pray now and forever. Jesus, amen.
Amen.
Rise now for the pledge of allegiance. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one God, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you so much. Clay County School Board meeting, December 6, 2018, will come to order. Welcome, citizens of Clay County. I want to take this opportunity to thank you for taking the time out of your busy schedule to attend tonight's school board meeting. This meeting is our opportunity as your elected representatives to collaborate openly and make decisions that will decide the future direction of our public schools and the education of our children here in Clay County. If you wish to address the board, there will be an opportunity to speak for 3 minutes. Please fill out a card, which you will find located in the back of the room. Indicate the specific item number or topic you wish to speak about and turn it in promptly. You may turn your cards in to Mr. Dagada right here with his hand up. No additional cards will be accepted once the board moves to the public comment section under presentations from the audience. Your participation is welcomed and appreciated. Next, recognition and awards, the State Jim Harbin Student Media Festival recognitions. Courtney Roberts, District Coordinator for Jim Harbin Program, and Susie Gannon, District Instructional Media Specialist. Welcome. Well, let's see if that mic is on.
Can you hear me?
Yes,
Okay.
I think you're on.
Good evening, and thank you for this opportunity. I am Courtney Roberts, Library Media Specialist at Oakleaf Village Elementary School and the Clay County Chairperson of the Jim Harbin Student Media Festival. As a member of the Florida Association for Media and Education, sponsor of the Jim Harbin Student Media Festival, it is always an exciting time for me when we are able to recognize our Clay County students, particularly when they qualify for state-level competition, which traditionally they do. It's quite an honor because they advance from district to regional to state competition, with only first place regional winners advancing to state. The 2017-2018 winners were announced at our fall conference on November 30th, where Clay County earned a total of 17 awards at the state level. In grades K to 5, our entries placed in 6 categories: animation, book trailer, comedy, instructional, music, and public service announcement. In grades 6 to 12, our students placed in 8 categories: animation, book trailer, instructional, music, news feature, news show, public service announcement, and public service video. Tonight, we have students from our winning schools with us as we honor our outstanding video production students. Our K-5 winners are from Argyle Elementary, Coppergate Elementary, Keystone Heights Elementary, and Oakleaf Village Elementary. Their competition divisions are for grades K-2 and 3 to 5. Students, please come forward with your media specialist and sponsor when I call your school and winning entry. Argyle Elementary School winning 2nd place for their comedy in grades 3 to 5. Those four little words are Jocelyn Fusinator and Riley Chapman. Their media specialist from Argyle Elementary School is Rachel Glisson. Not all the students are here.
Oh,
Coppergate Elementary School, winning third place for their book trailer in grades 3 to 5, The Wild Robot, Reagan Hughes and Grady Howell. Winning first place for their instructional video in grades 3 to 5, How to Perform Hands-On CPR, are Kaylin Gaither and Caleb Gaither. Winning third place for his public service announcement video in grades 3 to 5, Throw Kindness Like Confetti, is Brody DeLeon. Winning second place for their music video in grades K to 2, Kicking It with Karate, are Delaney Lassiter and Kaylin McGrew. Their media specialist and sponsor from Coppergate Elementary is Kim Miskowski. Congratulations. Keystone Heights Elementary School, winning third place for his animation video in grades 3 to 5, Panda, is Noah Kroll. Their media specialist is Donna Waters. Sorry, and their sponsor is Angelica Ochoa. Sorry. And winning third place for his public service announcement in grades K to 2, Drive Safe, Don't Text, is Stuart Roberts, and I am the media specialist and sponsor from OVE. Congratulations to our students from grades K to 5.
let's see if we can't get a nice picture of all of them.
And you guys will be getting certificates sent to your schools also.
Squeeze a little closer so. There's a camera.
This one has it. Our students from grades 6 to 12 are from Middleburg High School, Oakleaf Junior High, Coppergate Elementary School, and Shadowlawn Elementary School. They competed in either the grades 6 to 8 or grades 9 to 12 division. Students, please come forward with your media specialist or sponsor when I call your school in winning entry. From Coppergate Elementary, winning second place for the news feature in grades 6 to 8, Pie or Pie, are Lauren Hughes, Elsa Briones, and Brianna Cox. Their media specialist and production sponsor is Kim Miskowski. Winning second place for their news show in grades 6 to 8, Shadowlawn News, are Will Kelly, Rory Sowers, Kaysen McElroy, Audrey Britt, Sophia Shawn, and Caitlin Potter. Their media specialist from Shadowlawn is Twyla Houston, and their production sponsor is Wendy Schaff. From Oakleaf Junior High, winning second place for her music video in grades 6 to 8, Minute by Minute, is Haley Renault. Winning second place for his public service announcement video in grades 6 to 8, Look Both Ways, is Kevin Shulcutt. And their media specialist and production sponsor from Oakleaf Junior High is Wendy West. Do y'all want a picture? This is 6 to 8 grade group.
Y'all squeeze in a little closer.
Congratulations. And then from the grades 9 to 12 division, we have students from Middleburg High School. Winning third place for their animation in grades 9 to 12, Ants, are Makita Esdell, Peyton Lanou, Christy Benitez, and Matt Oliver. I'm not sure we have any high school. Winning third place for their book trailer in grades 9 to 12, The Giver, are Courtney Bernhard, Trey Miller, Thomas Broshik, Wesley Blaine Bright, and Stephen Bradenberg. Winning third place for their instructional video in grades 9 to 12, Life-Saving Food Hacks, are Leslie Cartlett, Madison Fountain, and Colton Warren. Winning second place for their news feature in grades 9 to 12, A Hero and a Horse, are Haley Kegley, Tyler Braswell, and Diamond Knight. Winning second place for their public service video in grades 9 to 12, De-Stress, are Alicia Mather and Allison Wall. The media specialist for Middleburg High School is Joyce Anderson, and their production sponsor is Kim Lanou. Students, media specialists, and sponsors, we congratulate you for your outstanding productions, and you have made us proud. Thank you.
Thank you so much, and congratulations to all the winners. We had no presenters tonight. Our school showcase tonight is from Oakleaf Junior High School. Kristen Rousseau is the principal. If you would like, come up and tell us all about your school.
Good evening. Welcome to the Hive. Please meet my crew I have with me tonight. Mrs. Graham is our vice principal. Ms. Houston is our principal secretary, and Mr. James is our interventionist and our AVID coordinator this year. And then we have the Thompson family. You've already met our wonderful choir, and I want to tell you, I am so honored to lead the largest junior high school in Clay County. Our community of Yellow Jackets are proud, hardworking, and bound for continued success. In fact, our theme this year is Writing the Code for Success. Our school has so many accomplishments to boast, like the lovely voices of our chorus, multiple championship sports teams. Our academic team has been county champs for several consecutive years. Our award-winning band program has performed at prestigious venues across the South, and they even recorded at the historic RCA studios in May of this year. I could go on and on. Our school has a multitude of programming for the interest of any student, and we have even added more opportunities this year. Our goal is to focus on the needs of the whole child. OLJ is truly a hive of talent. This year, we transitioned from to a transitional 2-year junior high school with the opening of Discovery Oaks Elementary. We really miss our 6th graders, but OLJ still has a healthy enrollment of 1,120 proud Yellow Jackets. When I arrived at Oakleaf Junior at the start of the 2017-2018 school year, our school had received a B grade for 3 consecutive years. But it did not take long for me to realize that I had stepped into a hive of hardworking, dedicated, innovative staff and students. They were ready to elevate our brilliantly diverse school to new heights, and that we did. Last year, we gained an impressive 64 points in state testing, and we were recognized as an A school by the state of Florida.
Hey, hello.
We showed overall growth in every tested area. Also, our lower quartile students made learning gains across each content area. How did we improve our school? We provided opportunities for staff to participate in the conversation of transformation. We incorporated more professional learning opportunities that focused on student engagement, collaboration, and inquiry. By acting as a true professional learning community, we had honest conversations about teaching practices and student data, and then we took these practices to the classroom. At OLJ, we understand that we have only just begun because we plan to keep that A. We are working to continue the focus on effective reading strategies across each content area so that we will collectively move reading scores. We know the importance of closely monitoring reading proficiency through iReady and through Achieve, and to make informed decisions with data to improve our instructional practice. We are working on improvement in this area. Although our school did recognize overall math gains, we did not achieve gains at every level, and this is significant. It continues to be our focus. We will increase math scores through collective work in our math department, specifically by spiraling daily practice to continue to implement complex conceptual tasks. By increasing tutoring opportunities, we now offer 14 different tutoring sessions beyond the school day every week, and our students have access to the Math Success Lab every day, all day. We have worked to address the needs of our higher achieving students and students on the verge of proficiency by giving more access to advanced coursework. The idea is to offer access, encourage the challenge, and then to provide support. We are so excited to be the first school to offer AVID in the county. AVID, Advancement via Individual Determination, is a college readiness program that spotlights students with potential and then develops this potential through study, organization strategies, enrollment in advanced classes, and then a multi-layer system of mentoring. I would like you to hear about AVID and how it's transforming our school. Please welcome Mr. Jonathan Brown, extraordinary 7th grade AVID student.
This is my first year at Oakleaf, and I've loved it. Being my first year in junior high, I wondered how hard the classes would be. The teachers have made classes fun by coming up with exciting ways to learn. For example, my teachers let us collaborate in groups to learn from each other and teach each other. We also learn how to analyze what we read in all of our classes, like in civics and science. I also get to be an AVID. AVID is a class that has helped me in a lot of ways. Every Friday, we do team building activities to help us think critically and be problem solvers. AVID also helps me to be organized. This binder is one way AVID keeps me organized. All of my notes, quizzes, and homework for every class are required to be in this binder. It helps me to keep everything stored in one place so I can always be ready to learn. I got to take Advanced English Language Arts this year because an AVID challenges us to reach higher so that we will be able to go to college and do great things as adults. Our AVID teachers are there to support us in all of our classes. A few weeks ago, all the AVID students went to Oakleaf High School. Wow, that was a big school. The library was on the 3rd floor. Seriously, the school has 3 floors? The principal and vice principal helped us to understand what to expect when we come into school. Next semester, we will visit colleges so that we can set even higher goals for ourselves. I've loved my first few months at Oakleaf, and AVID is a big reason why.
Wow.
He kept telling me not to be nervous today. He does a great job. Thank you so much for allowing us this opportunity to showcase our school and to recognize the hard work of the folks at OLJ. We do have gift baskets for you from our school. Ms. Houston put this together with ornaments from our parent organization. They're in their 2nd year. We are so proud of them. And the recording of our band at RCA Studios. Thank you so much for supporting the work that we do. And we are blessed to work with such an amazing community of learners. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
These
Thank
are
you.
beautiful.
Through the chair, Ms. Russo, you and your staff, have done phenomenal work. Going from 1,500 students, probably a little bit more, and then to around 1,100 students, you continue to do great work. And Mr. Brown, is it? You are awesome. You're more than welcome to come anytime. You can sit next to me and run this. I'll sit out there, but you did a great job. So thank you for being a part of this new initiative. AVID is a great way to create pathways for learners and allow them to reach their full potential. And you're going to be a success story that we'll be able to tell a lot of people about. And so thank you, and thank your mom, and thank the leaders at Oakleaf, and continue to do great work. And I agree with you. Maintain the day.
That's right. Great job. That's what makes this board proud, is to see things like this. It's amazing. And I don't think we've ever received such a pretty nice and with lots of goodies. Love it. Thank
Mr.
you
Davis,
so much.
the AVID program, is that available at other schools, or is it unique to Oakleaf Junior?
Yeah, through the chair. It's right now we just wanted to do a pilot, and we thought that Oakleaf Junior High School is a perfect school with a rich diversity of celebration. So we thought that we could see if we can take a bulk of learners that are in that middle range to push them to their full potential and have a pathway and vision for short-term and long-term goals for becoming college-bound.
Mm-hmm.
We do know that there's other routes, but we believe that this is a strong push. We'll see how the implementation is. Thus far has been solid, so we'll see if we can grow that throughout the entire county. The biggest thing, we know this openly, and Ms. Russo and Mr. Connor will tell you, it's expensive to do, but it's a great initiative for kids. So
It sounds
Mr. Superintendent, excuse me, to Ms. Gonzalez's question, I'm sorry, I would be remiss if I didn't point out that it's our DODEA grant that has allowed us to pilot it here. So our military-connected families and their presence in the Oakleaf area gives us this opportunity.
Excellent.
Okay. Thanks again. Y'all did a great job. We're all just very proud. Okay. This is the last call for comment cards. Is there anyone else who wants to put in a card before we begin? Okay. Under public comments, Darian Holiday. If you would state your name and address, and then you have 3 minutes. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Darian Holiday. Now, am I allowed to say the name of the person that I'm commenting on? I'm sorry, I have a cancer, so I can't really talk loud.
Are you?
Am I allowed to say the name of the person that I'm commenting about?
Let's don't say the name. I'm not
Okay.
sure.
So
Are you doing a
basically-
negative or a positive comment?
Okay,
Or-
so
we
basically
don't
there
want-
was
we don't
a
allow people's
person-
names to be defamed.
Yes, ma'am.
But maybe you should just say,
Okay.
is it
so-
about a teacher?
Yes.
Just say a
Okay,
teacher.
and through the chair, I will make certain that after your comments, I'll have staff that will meet you in the back to be able to address anything that you want to address
Yes, sir.
individually. All right, thank you.
Okay, my name is Darian Holiday. I am at 2391 Stonebridge Drive at Orange Park, Florida, 32065. This is about a teacher that was on the news in October, I believe. So I saw the news and I was like, hey, this is the teacher that I know. I saw the guy on the news and it was a staff that I saw, and the guy was my son's coach. And the coach, he coached my son, and my son had mono, and he forced my son to wrestle. And I emailed the principal, and I told him, I was like, hey, this guy has mono. And nobody listened. And the year before that, the guy, so basically, I guess in the news, they portrayed a person as a person that was a one-time person, but in reality, I know the person isn't just a one-time person. It's like years of what he is. A person that's not fit. So he's a Clay High School graduate, and he is known here, and goes through the district. So my wonder is just like how that person's still here. He took money from me. Still hasn't given me money. It's taking money from the wrestling program. It's taking money from accounts from parents, and still is a coach on a wrestling team. So causing child endangerment. Why he's still coaching. Embezzlement for school, and why he's still coaching. So that was just some things that I was just wondering.
So,
Mr. Davis.
yeah, so through the chair, Mr. Holiday, I'll have Mr. Connor. He'll reach out to you once upon completion, and he'll be able to talk to you about individually about what's transpiring and how we can better help and assist and look into.
Okay.
Okay, and
Thank you,
this,
sir.
Mr.
Connor's
Connor,
right
if
here.
you would hold your, it's right there. But he's, okay, thank you. And before we get to the adoption of the consent agenda, I did have a card to address one of the consent items. Travis Christensen. He was addressing item C10.
Hey, Travis Christensen, 2871 Affirm Court. I realize they're just, advertising for it tonight, so just a few comments. I looked over what you had online. It seemed like a good policy. I don't think it diverges very much from what has has been current law, and it just gives some explanations to avoid confusion. However, I think any policy or some other training you put out along with this, you ought to put down as some pitfalls. Now, for student-led religious activities, as far as staff, there's a great difference between participating and leading or appearing to lead, because you cross a very significant legal line when you do so. Now, remember we were going back to the old, yeah, you know where I'm going with this, flagpole prayer thing from a couple years back. Probably a lot of people remember it, think that started off because the majority in the school board were mean communist socialists, as you've been called before. But the actual incident that very few remember, the actual incident that started it off was an email from a principal that appeared to be leading a religious activity. You know, look it up in the newspapers, and it escalated. Someone took umbrage, and next thing you know, you got like the Wisconsin atheists threatening to sue you. So basically, I'm saying there's some let your people know there's a fine line to keep out of trouble with lawsuits. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Christensen. Now we'll move to the adoption of the consent agenda. I'll entertain a motion.
I'll move approval.
Second.
I have a motion by Ms. Karikas, second by Ms. Bola. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed say no. Motion carries 5-0. Let's see. It hadn't come up yet.
I thought it was just me.
No.
It's coming.
You in the audience, just be patient. The computer is being a little slow. Did yours pop up yet? Okay. Ms. Bush, would you just vote aye? Oh, here we go.
Yeah, I do. Do I go on to the?
And then press.
Okay. Got it. All right.
Okay, we're all good. Next, we have the CCEA update. Ms. Paiva, can you come up, or would you like to take a mic back to your seat? Okay.
Good evening, Renly Paiva, President of the CCEA. I'd like to start off with, first of all, it's the first time I've seen this new board. Congratulations, Ms. Carrigas, Ms. Bullock, and Mrs. Gilhausen. The next, I would like to talk a little bit about the math adoption, and I specifically would like Mr. Davis, if you could address the board sometime today or tonight about Eureka Math and the other one, because I don't think I'm getting a lot of calls from parents that I spoke to you about today, and I don't think that they understand the benefits and the new way this math is taught. So if you could just, I would appreciate it if you could just give your wise opinion, because you've dealt with it longer than anybody has. I know that our teachers 90% of our teachers are piloting now Eureka Math, and I think they're getting really good results, but it's still new to everybody, especially in Clay County, and it seems to be an angst on the adoption of a new, and what the teachers want and what the district really wants. But if you could explain it as well as you explained it to me today, I would appreciate that, okay? The last thing, I only have this, is to absolutely say, that I wish everybody a Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, Happy Kwanzaa, Happy Hanukkah, and Happy Holidays. So I want to count everybody. I want to make sure that you all know that I truly appreciate working with the school board. I truly appreciate Mr. Davis, and I truly appreciate the senior staff. They always get back and let me know what's going on, and I appreciate it. And I think the teachers appreciate it. We certainly see a difference. Thank you.
And we appreciate you and the teachers in this county for what y'all do every day for our kids. It's all about the kids. Okay, CESPA update. Is Teresa Dixon here, or anyone from CESPA? No? Okay. Next, we'll go to the discussion agenda. D1, Clay County School Board Attorney. Oh, it is written there, isn't it? Superintendent, excuse me, we're not to D1. I overlooked the superintendent. Superintendent's update and presentations, if there's 90 slides.
Yes, ma'am. So through the chair, thank you for getting me this evening. And I'm sitting right next to you, just kidding. But nonetheless, I want to address Ms. Paiva. So Ms. Paiva is a true partner in our work, and I want everyone to know that. So we brainstorm a lot about initiatives, about projects, about curriculi, about what's going on in schools every single day. So phone calls happen a lot and often, but it's a beautiful partnership. And one of the things we have is a math curriculum that's coming on board. And it's a year for us to really identify a curriculum that will allow us to continue to prepare our students to meet and exceed grade level standards. In this sense, right now, from our adopted process is Go Math. That's what the district has used historically from, and I'm particularly talking from a K-6 perspective. And right now, we brought in some supplements about a year and a half ago to bring in to supplement some of the work because we believed that Go Math wasn't significantly aligned to standards, state standards, and it didn't really push the kids to cognitively think every single day about mathematical practices. So what we brought is a research-based support system, which, curriculi, which was supplement materials that we use and infuse, and some of the teachers have adopted to use. And it really focuses on mathematical practices in a different way that we've ever seen before. You know, growing up, everyone that's on this board, including myself, Ms. Paiva, we really just applied math and we just did really calculated hard numbers. And we came out and arrived at a particular answer. And we didn't get into the mechanics of how it was coherent in its work, how it truly had focus, and how it really had complexity from rigor. We just did math. We knew that 4 plus 4 was 8, and no one asked us how did we arrive at that, and how do you break out 4 and 4 to a number bond, and which you can get arrive at 2 and 2 plus 2 and 2 and equals 8. So what Eureka did, actually it's developed by great minds, and it's a free curriculum that's out there for anyone in the nation to use. And we saw great success across the nation, and we saw great success from many individuals who are curriculum leaders in this work, from Achieve the Core, from the New Teacher Project, who really identified that Eureka Math is the greatest aligned curriculi out on the opportunity on the market today, and it's a free curriculum. So bringing in what we do as our expenditures is spent with SAI funding is to bring in just to print the free curriculum and have access to for our students and our teachers. Openly, I would tell you that the first couple of months as a teacher implements this, there is angst. But there's a sweet spot that transitions between November and December where they really start to see the fruits of their labor and they see outstanding work where kids start to really progress. Teachers start to have great confidence in it. And you really see that students conceptually are starting to really understand mathematical practices. And it's a way better opportunity for kids to think about math, to understand it, how to understand formulas, to compute, and to really understand numbers and how they interact with each other. We see teachers catching fire with this. Some of the angst that I will say that's out there that Ms. Paiva spoke about is parents don't know how to help their children with this new math. It is difficult. I struggled as a parent as well with Caitlin, with my, with my 7th grader, historically years ago when she was using it as well. I'm a smart gentleman. I know how to do the work, but I was getting whipped by this curriculum. I didn't understand it. So I had to go back and upload, modules to figure out YouTube, to figure out how to help them understand mathematical practices. So while we see that, and I will present to the board when, in due time, this shows that Eureka, those who've implemented Eureka have outperformed the same caliber student and have outperformed those who've used Go Math within Clay County and show around the state and the nation how it's been one of the best curriculums that have been utilized in schools. What we do have to do in looking at this initiative and making sure we have the right curriculum, if we decide to move this route, we've got to get it right and we've got to help parents be educators at the home, meaning we've got to upload videos, we've got to have parent academies so they can see the beauty of the mathematical practices. So I would say those who are doing it for the first time, hang in there. You're going to see so many great things from your learner and your educator as you do it. So more to come on this, I'm sure. And I look forward to having a deep conversation, dialogue, not only with teachers and practitioners, but the board as well as we do that. Now, for my big presentation tonight, first and foremost, happy holidays to everyone. I want everyone to connect. I've been doing and hosting Community Connections, which is an opportunity for us to extend all of our initiatives, projects, and areas of focus, for the month in Clay County District Schools. First month, we did bullying prevention. The second month, we did family engagement. And coming up, we're going to do healthy holidays. We will talk about the stresses of this time of the year, because we not only have to take on our stresses of work, but we have family coming in, we've got to cook, we've got to get presents, and how do we manage all this stuff? So we'll talk about the mechanics, how to deal with the holidays. We'll also bring in some nutritional aspects from Susie Glover and her team to talk about what are some healthy holiday treats that we can create and implement. And then we'll have a student from Orange Park High School as well, who will culinary program, who will come in and share some holiday delights and talk about his love for culinary. Then we'll close it out with talking about the wellness part of it and how do we launch from a wellness perspective in the area of January. But overall, this is some pictures from the other night. As you see, we have a karaoke singer on the right-hand side with fancy lights. Then we have a gentleman who decided to dress up at the last moment. And then we have Mr. Pittman, who had the worst outfit of the night.
You were right there
bad
with it.
too with him.
That was bad.
I only share this to say, my presentation tonight is all about us and teachers and community members and board members and leaders and support staff to truly spend time with your families. Take time off and find a balance in your life. And we know that these times can be very stressful, but find times to let your hair down and really care for each other and be with your family. I'm trying to be so serious, and I get the slide off. But, and I want to remind everyone that the school district will be closed from December 25th into the new year. But we'll be able to help you in any way, shape, and form. But overall, take time with your family, your friends, and thank you for your hard work. This work isn't easy. And know that we're here to support you and we care about you. And we look forward to a fresh, exciting new year in January 2019. Let me go back to it.
I wonder in the control room, can we get a blow-up of Mr. McCauley and enlarge that?
Mr. McCauley, that should go out in your Christmas card this year.
That is choice.
Has your wife seen that?
I mean,
yes. Well, I would say this through the chair, Mr. McCauley, never wear that again. Just kidding. He looked great, and so did our disco singer. He was actually really good.
Hey, and Mr.
Good.
Connor. Now we know who can really sing.
Between him and Mrs. Mallory, they can go on the road, and we can probably make some money. We all can use the money, other than 47 cents. Sorry, I'm just a plug for whoever's watching from the Tallahassee. At the end of the day, like as I said, and then I always do a champion of change every month. So it's for me, this is an individual that's been with us for the last 2 years, and it has truly helped us with cleaning up the legal processes and systems within our organization. This individual took on, his plate was immediately full upon arrival. And I don't know if he really knew what he was getting into, but it was really fast paced. And, and there's a lot of systems that needed to be put in place. But he did a magnificent job. I would say probably the last 8 to 9 months, he's been really solid. Not that he wasn't solid, but he's been really a champion of work and helping us with new, hey, I'll just say that. And he's really helped us with contractual, helped us to see different policy outlooks through the partnership with the board. And, it was my pleasure to be able to work alongside this gentleman before, for the time that he was here. So my champion of change, and this is his last board meeting because he's going on to private practice. So my champion of change for December is Mr. David Dagata.
Solid for the last 8 months because I'm just getting rounder.
No! Last 8 months, it caught fire. I mean, you started to understand our system. I'm sure my first 6 or 8 months are not good.
Mr. Davis.
It won't serve anybody. Nobody can respond to that question.
Thank you, sir.
You're blinking. You gotta take another one.
Congratulations, Mr. D'Agata.
Okay, so just about 13 more slides. I'm just kidding. That's it. Thank you, and probably the shortest ever. Enjoy the holidays. Oh, the crowd. We all want to clap tonight on this one.
And that was our Christmas gift. Okay, next we'll move to the discussion agenda. Clay County School Board Attorney. This item was submitted by Ms. Karakas. I do have 3 cards on this. The first is Elizabeth Dusenberry. Oh, y'all got an order? So who? So Mr. Billy Davy, and then Mr. Guzman, and then you mean ladies last?
Okay. Look, I closed strong.
No, that's okay. This is Billy Davy. If you'd state your name and address for the record.
My name, although I've had the pleasure to meet most of you, or almost all of you, and you've known me and my family forever, I am William Howard Davy II, Esquire, but you call me Billy. I do not answer by any other name. And I'm here today basically to talk to you about the council position and how the board is examining that. And I just wanted to make sure that you kept open your local attorneys, because the Clay County, I was the Bar Association president, I think 2 years ago, as you guys may know, and Clay County is one of the finest legal bars in the entire state. I've worked all over the state, and I know that there are a lot of people here that would be interested in helping out the school board. My firm in particular is one of them. I have done a lot of stuff in my prior life as a lowly associate in Ocala, when I was in Ocala for several years before coming back here and taking over my father's practice, where we were the city attorney. We were contracted, our firm was contracted to be the city attorney for the city of Ocala. I'm very familiar with how those processes work and how that advantage can be gained by both the board and by the firm, and how a firm that has multiple attorneys can give you multiple perspectives, and you kind of get a brain trust with that. We had 5 attorneys in that office, three of which including myself were involved in the Ocala municipal work. So I just wanted to let you guys know that we are out here. If you have any questions on how this, how we think we would be able to help you, I'd be happy to answer those questions. We are a firm of 3 attorneys currently. I got my partner, Louis Guzman, and Elizabeth Dusenberry, who are both going to come up and speak. All of us have governmental experience, and we all have a passion for the county, and me particularly, the passion for the school board. I was a product all 12 of my years, and I was lucky to keep it at 12, 12 plus kindergarten, came in Clay County schools. I know several of you know, I went to 3 of the 4 high schools that were opened in Clay County at the time I was attending school: Keystone, Middleburg, and Orange Park. Elizabeth graduated the year behind me from Middleburg. Go Broncos. And we were both in the gifted program. We were both in, and I was in SLD as well. So, I mean, I've been in programs, I've been throughout the gambit in this county. And I have a daughter who's in 2nd grade, and I have a son who's about to start kindergarten at FIE. And speaking of Eureka Math, I am a huge fan of it. I know that a lot of people are not, but I've been stumped. I have been stumped a couple of times before, but because of that, because of the new system. But she loves it. She's doing multiplication in her head at 2nd grade right now because she's taking the principles from that to go. But I'm not here to politicize over that. But I did want, when you were mentioning it, I did want to point that out as I've seen it. So, but the reason that I'm here is so that we can just make sure that we're available for anything that you guys may want to use us for, if not for to serve as the school board attorney, to serve in case you need someone outside of the school board attorney's office to serve for you. So I apologize for going a little bit over my time.
Okay.
But if anybody has any questions, I'll be happy to.
Thank you, Mr. Davey.
Thank you.
And next is Louis Guzman.
Hey, good evening. My name is Louis Guzman, and my address is 733 North Palmetto Avenue, Green Cove Springs. Now, I'm the newbie in the group. I've been here a year, coming up from Orlando, and as Mr. Davey had indicated, that I became a partner in the firm because I believe so much in this county. And I had the advantage or the privilege of coming to your workshop and discussing the possibilities when it comes to having an attorney, a school board attorney, and how that role would be filled. So I wanted to dive into that a little bit. The way I perceive the options are, you have the current makeup, the current scheme would be to have that staff attorney, and the advantage, of course, is that you have somebody on an operational level who's there all day, every day, and can be there for those possibilities and those emergency situations. Of course, the disadvantages are that you have potential conflicts when it comes, particularly when it comes to administrative grievances and things like that. And then you have, when you have outside litigation, when you have litigation going on involving the school board, you have to are forced into a situation where you're having to retain outside counsel on an ad hoc kind of basis. Suddenly it becomes an emergency, and you have to find someone and pay the requisite costs for that. The second alternative is having a firm act as the school board attorney. Now, of course, that eliminates the need for an ad hoc situation where you're having to hire a firm every single time that there's a situation coming up. But of course, the disadvantage is that you don't have someone there with you all day, every day, though it depends on the firm and it depends on the particular situation where you might have that firm be available for you. Now, one of the things that I think is an advantage, given my experience in working for multiple counties and in multiple areas of litigation, both federal and state, and in all kinds of venues and forums in multiple subject matters, is this combination where you have a staff attorney who's there on an operational level, and then you have a firm that is under contract to sit with a predictable rate that says, okay, we'll handle all your conflict situations like administrative grievances or your litigation. And that person, or that firm rather, can be in a position to provide you with objective quality service that is not needed on every time there's an ad hoc emergency situation with a predictable rate. So it seems to me that the school board and the district is in this, has grown to the point where this combination may be the most advantageous to the work that's presented to it. So again, I mean, this is one of the wonderful things that I find about this county, that it's in the cusp of growing into such a wonderful, growing so much, and I definitely like it better than Orlando. So I thank you for your time, and of course I'm available along with everybody else for any questions. Thanks.
Thank you so much. Yeah, Clay County traffic's not quite as bad as Orlando. And now Elizabeth Dusenberry.
Thank you. I'm Elizabeth Dusenberry, Esquire, with the Davey Law Firm. I am a product of the Clay County school system and probably need spectacles to continue, so pardon me. So I had some concerns regarding the hiring of counsel for the Clay County school board attorney. And one is that I want to make sure that, because my siblings and I all are graduates and my nieces and nephews are in the school system, that you all exercise your due diligence in searching for an attorney. And also that you consider the financial impact of legal services total for the school district, not just with the $20,000 savings, and that's very thoughtful, but does it actually does it include the cost of outside counsel when needed? So when a problem arises and you guys have to, I don't want to say farm out, but when you have to seek additional counsel, I think that there's a better way that you guys can save money. And whatever firm you choose, I think that you need to consider those options. So I understand that, the policies, which I've read. I live in Orlando, and I've had my children in Seminole County Public Schools and Orange County Public Schools. And their policies are a little bit more up to date and more comprehensive than the ones that I've seen on the website. And so I think that that's something that needs to be done. Ensuring the safety of our children obviously is important, but also in the protection of employees who serve the district. I think that there are alternative options that should be considered, and or supplemental options, and that it is your duty as public servants to use taxpayer dollars to the advantage of our parents and our children here in Clay County. So that's my request of you. Whether or not it has anything to do with whom you hire for legal services doesn't matter. I just ask that you would consider strongly your different options when it comes to providing legal counsel or hiring legal counsel. Questions?
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Okay. Let's see. Ms. Karakis, this was your item, so I will turn it over to you.
Well, I'll move approval on the contract that we put on. We need
Is
to have a
your
motion.
mic on?
It is on, and we need to have a motion and a second before discussion, so
Right.
I move approval.
A second.
I have a motion by Ms. Karakis, second by Ms. Bullock. Now we'll have discussion.
Well, I'll start since this is my item. I'm looking forward to having an attorney with experience in Clay County, with school board experience in Clay County, back with us, and I am very pleased that Mr. Bickner is willing to come back on as our school board attorney. He had 14-plus years with us as the full-time, and then also did part-time prior to that. So I would hope that the rest of the board feels the same way that I do. And I'll just listen to the rest and maybe have more to add. Thank you.
First of all, I want to say thank you to Mr. Dagada. He reached out to me, one of the first people in the county, and went through a lot of items that he had listed and I had listed, and I really appreciate it. And, Mr. Bickner was also like that. He was very open. I could call him. He was dedicated. He was really one of the top people. I've had several employees call me that say they called him on a regular basis, and they would hope that I would approve him and be on ready to hire him. So because time is of the essence, as we do know. The 21st, is that correct, Mr. Daggett? Yes, I saw that big grin tonight, so I don't know if that was for leaving or whatever, but right. And so with Mr. Bickner, there will not be a learning curve. I mean, there'll be some, but there will not be to the extent that would be somebody who's never been here and doesn't have the school law as their number one thing that they did. So thank you.
Any other discussion?
I've got quite a few questions, actually. In the workshop, I indicated that I would prefer to go to a search for an attorney. Mr. Dagada has changed from going with the Department of Education to a private firm and had indicated a willingness to basically assist us in the time period that it would take to conduct a search, if I'm not mistaken, on an ad-needed basis. I'm confused, I guess, as to who wrote this contract for the proposed contract for school board attorney. That's an attachment. I spoke with Mr. Brodsky, who had no input on it. I'm assuming you had no input on it, Mr. Dagada, for the proposed contract for school board attorney. And I had a number of questions regarding this. And I'm just going to go through the questions, I guess. In comparing the contracts between Mr. Dagada and Mr. Bickner, it was a salary difference to begin with. As I said, my first concern is who wrote this contract, and I'm assuming that someone on the board has talked with Mr. Bickner to
would you
help
like-
draft this.
I don't want to interrupt you, but I will tell you that was the 2011 contract that Mr. Bickner had
2000.
previously.
It wasn't
What
the
I've got is
exact contract.
2013.
Yeah, it's not the 2013, it's the 2011. He went with the softer contract and lowered the salary.
Okay.
And there were some changes on it, but there were questions that I had, I guess, regarding the contract. And the differences in contracts between Mr. Dagada's and the suggested contract from Mr. Bickner. Just to start with, in Mr. Dagada's contract, we paid you $130,000. You had 10 years of experience, if I'm not mistaken. And in Mr. Bickner's contract, we're going to pay him $144 with 14 years of experience. In Mr. Dagada's contract, we have 2 years with evaluations at 6 months and a year, and I'm assuming that's because you were new to the people on the board. In Mr. Bickner's contract, this is where I read, reread, and reread the contract because I'm somewhat confused by it. It's a 3-year contract with no opportunity to terminate unless we have a meeting of all 5 board members prior to the organization meeting in November, which we have each year in November, and then we have to allow 60 days. So we evaluate in December, according to the contract. If there's a concern, we have to wait 8 months or sometime before that 8-month period, I guess, to indicate that there's a concern and then possibility of termination. But we have to have a meeting of the entire board before we can determine that. And if we don't get that meeting done in an efficient way with all 5 members voting, then he gets, and it's not done within the contractual verbiage, then he gets another year on the contract, and that just made no sense. But we're giving him a 3-year contract out of the gate. There are no other administrators with a 3-year contract. We gave Mr. Dagada a 2-year contract, and I would prefer that we go with 2. Furthermore, it said something to the effect of vacations, et cetera, were going to be allocated according to senior staff, and my question is, how many years of experience do we have, will he be coming to us with? Mr. Dagada was not allowed membership in the National School Boards Association Council of School Attorneys due to the cost of that membership. I recall him requesting it and it being turned down. With Mr. Bickner, we're paying his membership and allowing him at least 1 educational conference with a national organization. We're in Florida. We have Florida statutes. I understand school board attorneys throughout. However, I question why one, not the other. Mr. Dagada's job description and duties of the attorney took the job of policy evaluation seriously. Obviously, as Mr. Davis mentioned, he's updated many of them in the last 8 months. There were policies from 1988 on our books that had been changed by statute in 2004 and then again in 2008, but were never updated. And we're still sitting out there when we just updated the policies in the last few months. There have been well over probably, I'm going to ballpark, 100 changes in the last 2 years in statute, education law. And now we've got a candidate that you would like to hire that has been with the Attorney General's office, but not in education law for, I'm assuming, for the last 4 to 5 years. And comment that I wrote down, it'll be interesting to see if we review the opportunities to use Neola in the future. Mr. Dagada had a secretary that helped type policy, file, handle phone calls, daily phone calls, etc. And here's where one of the changes was. It said Mr. Bickner needs no secretary, no assistant. And based on his resume that he submitted for review 2 years ago, I would beg to differ.
You would say what?
I said I would beg to differ that he doesn't need a secretary. I would like to see professional documentation being used to represent us with proper formatting, and that's not how his resume came through. We have someone in place now that we could use to help transition to a new attorney, And I would be very interested to understand what that position is what's going to happen to that position and that person. Mr. Dagada's evaluation instrument, this one tickled me, was provided by the superintendent, as I recall. We were all sitting and wondering, how are we going to evaluate Mr. Dagada? Because we needed to do it in the first 6 months, we needed to do it at the end of the first year, and we needed to make certain that we had an evaluation instrument that we could all use, and Mr. Dagada was put on the hot seat and we evaluated him. Based on what you would, I think, acquired from other evaluation instruments and sort of put it together. You threw it together. There you go. And Mr. Bickner's contract, the evaluation instrument will be developed jointly by the school board and the attorney. So now we're allowing the attorney back in. Why not just use the evaluation instrument we currently have? I would love to be able to say, you know, I'm going to evaluate myself, which we all do on a day-to-day basis, I'm certain. But I have questions with that. 2 years ago, when we did the interview, we asked questions about family law, ESE and IEP student cases, issues pending student due process, civil rights actions, student discipline issues, and issues related to FERPA, all of which Mr. Bickner could give us numbers for, which I found to be quite interesting. What we failed to ask was contracts reviewed, school site requests for guidance, witness subpoenas, cabinet member conferences, newly developed contracts, amount of litigation exposure avoided, how many policies were updated. Whoever is hired in this position will be asked to produce information. We would ask any other attorney that we were hiring. And I'm hoping that if this passes, that we seriously ask for updates as we've been getting from Mr. Dagada. I think you said, set a precedence for us that is to be expected. Monthly meetings to talk about litigation, the opportunity to ask questions, obviously. Yes, I've heard from people that Mr. Bickner was helpful, and I also have heard from people where Mr. Bickner perhaps wasn't as helpful as he could have been, which is true of any employee and any lawyer, I'm certain. We're purchasing the services of an attorney with a cost greater than $50,000, which according to our purchasing policy would require a search and minimum of 3 firms or attorneys to consider. That's our own policy and purchasing agreement. Lastly, I don't want Mr. Bickner to take this personally because I think he's a fine gentleman, but he is a personal friend of 3 of our school board members. And when considering this, I strongly feel that it would be beneficial to all involved to do a search. Should Mr. Bickner be the best candidate for the position, I would heartily support this decision. With a search, there wouldn't appear to be any improprieties in the area of ethics or sunshine, and we would protect against a decision made by favoritism or unjust advantage. Thank you.
Okay, Ms. Gilhausen?
I have similar concerns. I think I have some questions. Let me just put it to you that way. And since this was your item, Ms. Karakis, if you have answers for those questions, I'd appreciate it. The first is, I know you said that this was his contract from 2011, is that correct? Mm-hmm. But who wrote the contract?
Mm-hmm. He pulled it up and we went through it.
Who's we?
Me, Mr. Bickner. I said, talk to him about it and went through it with him.
But who wrote the 2011 contract?
That I don't know.
Okay.
Although I will tell you there were 5 board members that approved the 2011 contract unanimously, so there were no questions about it at the time.
Okay. Has it been reviewed for enforceability? Because part of my concern, and Ms. Bola touched on it, is the termination clause in that contract. Mm-hmm. Because under Florida law, when you contract with an attorney, Florida law, and it's been upheld in the courts, states that you can terminate at will with 8 weeks' notice. And we cover that in Mr. Dagada's.
And it says that in here too. And Mr. Dagada reviewed this. We had a conversation this morning. Mr. Dagada said this contract was fine. and that it does not need the policy that you just quoted about the $50,000 and excess. This does not fall under that. And in here, it does say that it can be terminated. Mr. Daggett, what was the wording this morning for malfeasance, was it you said?
I don't recall. I can tell you this. So with respect to the wisdom and whether you're getting a great benefit for the bargain here, really, and I'm kind of in an awkward position, as you might see, as the outgoing school board attorney. We're talking about a successor who was actually my predecessor here as well. So I don't want to offend anyone either. Really, the role that I play, and I'm going to play it until December 21st, is to ensure that everything is lawful and authorized. So
correct. That's what you said this morning.
I'm weighing in
with
respect to whether it's lawful or authorized. Right. And what I pointed out is that there were changes made in statute, and I think I pointed it out with respect to the termination clause. I'm not talking about whether it's wise or not, or beneficial or not,
right,
with the 2-year and 3-year. But what we do know is that the statutes changed not so long ago. In fact, it was after 2010, which was the last signed contract that I saw before the 2013 with Mr. Bickner, such that you need to make sure, and my recommendation is that you add to the termination provision that in no event will attorney receive severance pay beyond the limits of section 214.425 of the Florida statutes.
I don't want to correct you, but it's 215.425. I pulled it up
did
when you talked to me. Yeah.
Okay, so I just
for
mixed up
the
the
net
numbers there.
record. It's
but you get what I'm saying.
Yes, and it says, and item C at the very bottom, this subsection does not create an entitlement to severance pay in the absence of its authorization. And nowhere in this contract does it ask for severance pay. And on the last page, under the termination section, it does say, and I will read it to you. Give me a second. This agreement and the attorney's employment for the school board may be terminated at any time by the school board for misconduct by the attorney constituting just cause as defined for other administrative employees of the school board, and for engaging in conduct which constitutes a felony under Florida law, or for failing to remain a member of good standing with the Florida bar, or failing to carry out a directive from the school board. So I think if the school board had any reason that they wanted to terminate the contract for misconduct or failure to follow through on an order or anything, it's just the 60 days notice, just like it would be for anybody else.
So this is why, and of course, the contract that was attached to the agenda does not specify severance.
Right,
okay?
and since it doesn't specify, we all know state statute would supersede anything in our contract.
I'll tell you, when you go into courts, there are differences of opinion when it comes to what it is we have and have not contemplated going into the contract. I can tell you the termination clause can just as easily be interpreted as saying that you cannot be terminated, attorney cannot be terminated at will, that is for no cause at all, for the first 2 years. So you consider that, and then you consider the limitations imposed by the statute. That's where I'm asking you. I think that it would be wise and it would make it very clear that the severance would not exceed the statutory maximum, thereby making this more understandable and fully lawful.
I'm fine with that, Mr. Daggett. If you think that should be just added in right above the signature, put an asterisk and add that. And I think I wrote down what you said this morning, the language of that. But what you just said was, I think if you feel that protects the district, that's fine.
I can't imagine that there's going to be an attorney out there knowledgeable of municipal and school law that would disagree with that. Let me just make this clear, because I'm hearing this too, and I truly didn't know. how the formation of this contract took place and who negotiated or what. So just understand what is in front of the board right now is basically a ratification, okay? If there was a negotiation by any board member, right, you know that in your school board policies and in school law, no one board member has authority to do anything,
Right.
okay? Or, of course, bind the board. So what you're doing here is you're provided a contract, and you as a board, as a majority, have got to basically assume that whatever you do tonight is acceptable to Mr. Bickner, and you're ratifying what you're seeing and what you observed for the first time when the contract was attached to the agenda. So that's kind of what you're doing now. It's healthy to go through the terms, but I want you to just understand what the board is doing here is ratifying what's in front of it. As amended, if you all amend this, if you make changes such as that one, that's really what you're doing tonight. I just wanted to make that very clear.
Thank you, Mr. Daggett. That's really helpful.
May I ask a clarification? In the statute, did you say 2 years or 3 years?
He said 2.
You said 2 years for the
Well, no, I was
contract.
interpreting, my interpretation of the termination clause in this contract, this version of the contract, suggests to me that you cannot terminate at will for the first 2 years.
Correct.
Okay,
And
and
where's-
that's where the concern with the severance limitations in 215 came to mind.
Then, and this particular agreement may be terminated by the school board on the 3rd anniversary of its execution date. So in this particular contract, it indicates that we would have to wait for 3 years in order to terminate for any cause. And only if the board provides the attorney notice in writing 60 days prior to the school board's annual reorganization meeting of its intent to terminate the agreement. Said notice of termination shall be sent to the attorney pursuant to a vote taken by the school board at a regular or special meeting of the board at which all 5 members were in attendance. And failure, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, everything that you were talking about comes after that. And failure to notify the attorney of its intent to terminate this agreement as set forth herein shall result in the extension of this agreement for 1 additional year, which to me says a year of severance, because if we're in the process of asking an attorney to leave, then we don't really care to have them representing us. And so for that year, we have to have a contract with this individual.
I think the
I'm
phrase
confused.
that Mr. Daggett has suggested would cover that.
That's correct.
So, you know, that would be a moot point, because
Then
if there
this
was,
would have to be reworded.
but if there's
A healthy rewording.
if there's misconduct by the attorney, blah, 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 I mean, you make
That's after
you're making
that.
you're making it sound like we can't, if we wanted to not keep someone, that we can't not.
But that's what the contract says.
That's what this says. That's what, I'm just saying, that's what this says. And it says this agreement and the attorney's employment may be terminated at any time for misconduct.
Right.
That's almost a whole nother paragraph, because everything up to that point basically says you've got 3 years and you better have a all 5-person meeting, workshop, whatever, special meeting, and then you can only do it at the reorganization meeting. I'm like, huh? And it has to be on a no, I'm kidding, sorry.
So I have a couple other questions.
Okay.
Since Mr. Daggett notified us in October of his resignation, I've asked that we go out to bid. And I guess my question is, why aren't we? What is your reason for not going out to bid?
Because Mr. Daggett is leaving on the 21st, for one thing, so that's a very short time. And I know that Ms. Bola indicated, and Mr. Daggett, I think at the agenda review meeting, indicated that he could be a cushion, but the bottom line is, and I appreciate that. However, if the firm he's at needs him for something else, guess who's going to come in second? The
We
school
need,
board.
we need somebody immediately, full-time in the house.
We've had since October.
Exactly.
Well,
You've known this was coming.
that's 2 months' worth. And we had both indicated an interest in.
I don't see any
a
reason to
search.
go out. I think Mr. Bickner is willing to, he was number 3 on our list of people we interviewed. Number 1 took a job in Nassau County, Mr. Daggett was number 2. Why wouldn't you go to number 3 on the list?
Why not go out?
This
and
is
look and
number
see if
3 on the
there's a
list?
firm that's available.
Because
that's
it's not
interested with
required.
Education.
Because it's not required. It
doesn't
is
mean-
not required to go out.
It may not be required, but do you not believe that that's best practice?
In this case, I don't, no. I
You-
don't think
you don't
it's best
believe
practice.
it's best practice to go out for
I
bid
think-
when we're going to spend $144,000 potentially of taxpayer money. You don't think that we should see what options
I
are
think the wise thing
available?
for us to do right now is to protect our district and to bring in somebody who knows our district, who worked here for 14 years, who knows Clay County, knows the history of it. I think that's the wise thing to do at this moment. And we can agree to disagree. I would like to ask both of you to remember when we did do our interviews and we did hire Mr. Daggett. Mr. Daggett knows that he was not my first choice. He wasn't Mrs. Stutter's. But we came together as a board to
I
work
pointed that out to you in the
collectively.
workshop, yes.
And it was a unanimous vote. And I would like to ask the same of you right now that Mrs. Studdard and I did 2 years ago when we came. And I won't go into any of the history or the drama of what happened 4 years ago. So I would just like to ask
And
that
Ms.
you-
Gilhausen pointed out about not being divisive, so this is an opportunity to come together.
Yeah.
Ladies,
so
Ms.
I'm not
Gilhausen,
quite
are
finished
you've
yet.
still got some questions,
I
and then
do.
I'll speak.
So if I recall correctly, when Ms. Bola and I brought up the potential of going out to bid on this contract, the reason that we were given by you all at that time was that we didn't know what the makeup of the board was going to be, and you felt like the new board should get to make that decision,
That's true.
right? So if we're signing a 3-year contract with this attorney, what does that mean for the board?
That means you're part of the new board.
I know that it means I'm part of the new board. I'm talking about 2 years from now when we have another round of elections, and that board is stuck with the attorney that this board decided on.
Well, you have that throughout history.
That's right.
You
But
know.
I don't understand why it's okay 2 years from now, but it wasn't okay for us to start this process in October. Do you understand what I'm saying? We didn't go out to bid in October because
I think you're being petty about this now. I think,
Oh,
I think,
Petty?
I think
okay,
that.
no.
Let me explain
Ladies,
what I'm
we're not
saying.
gonna do this.
That's
I
not
think because October, we knew that Mrs. Bullock was coming on. It would have been wrong, I think, in my eyes, to start the process. But now that we're all here, there are 5 of us, and I think we should move forward. 2 years from now, we may have the same exact makeup of the board. We may have somebody different, and we may be perfectly happy with this attorney for 10 years to come.
But the point is, we don't have an option if we're not.
We do have an option in there.
Not under this contract, we don't. This contract is a 3-year contract with very limited ability.
No ability to change it.
So I'm not comfortable with this, and you're asking me to vote for something that goes directly against my conscience on so many levels. It's not fair to the board to obligate them
It's
for
not
3 years.
fair.
No, it's not.
Wow. So I remember when Mr. Sykes came in, some of this board was never even asked. Never. 3 board members had a conversation and went forward. Nobody went out on a bid. Nobody asked the board, and I believe he actually started before we even got to vote on his contract. So
That's not how I remember it.
Yeah.
I remember him coming on as an interim, and several opportunities I asked, if you're not pleased, let's start the process to go out for bid. I remember
that was
asking
never
that
said.
question. That's,
I'd like you to go find that on the video.
I will do that for you.
Thank you. I would
Mhm.
appreciate
Okay,
it.
ladies, let me
Go back in
speak.
history.
I'd like to speak.
Well, I do have one more question, Ms.
Okay,
Studdard, if I can finish.
I want you to finish up first.
Okay. So the other, and it touches on what Ms. Bola already talked about, but why the $14,000 pay increase?
Actually, if you look at it, he was making $149 $350, so it's less than what he was making when he was asked to resign.
Plus,
But
they won't
it's
have legal-
14,000 more than what we're paying now.
And he has more experience, Clay County experience.
And he's not bringing a secretary, is my understanding, too. He said, asked that he didn't need one. Is that correct?
What did you
How
say,
is he-
Ms. Bullock?
I'm sorry.
What did you say, Ms. Bullock?
Didn't he say that he would take care of his own?
Okay.
He would outsource the paralegal.
Because I asked the question, I said, Ms. Robinson, I wanted to make sure.
Just like
she was
Mr.
okay.
Sykes did. Mr.
Okay.
Sykes outsourced his secretarial.
Ms. Gilhousen, do you have any more questions?
Well, I'd just like to clarify
Or
a little bit
comments?
of what was said about 3 members of a board making a unilateral decision. That can't happen except at a board meeting. And as a board member, everyone has the opportunity to weigh in their opinion on a decision that's made.
But that decision never came to the board. That didn't come to the board.
We had to ratify his contract, Ms. Karakas. There's no way that could have gotten done.
It was after Mr. Bickner was already told that he would be terminated if he didn't resign. That was already handled and everything was put in motion. So
That's not how I remember it.
Yeah, well,
Ladies, the past is the past. I'm not going to sit here and try to think who did what to whom 2 years ago, who did what to whom 4 years ago. Shut that door. We have to think about the Clay County School District, what is in the best interest of the district and the kids. And I do have a couple questions. Now, I'm with the sentence that Mr. D'Agata put in, that should kind of take care of that aspect
Ms.
of
Stoddard,
it.
I'm so sorry to interrupt you. My computer just died. Yeah, it's shut off.
Okay. Okay. I did have a couple questions on the,
Yeah, I tried to turn it back on. and
I'll
it's-
wait.
I'm sorry, I didn't
That's
mean to
okay.
interrupt you.
You can't help it when it just died. Did you didn't hit it with your foot? Oh,
Should be plugged in.
we'll wait just a minute. Is it working? Thank you so much. And you got on TV.
I'm on.
Okay. One minor thing that I was looking at in this contract, and I didn't have the 2011 contract, I have the 2013 contract. But I noticed on one of them, on the proposed, I didn't see where it said Florida School Board Association. You know, he would go to the conferences in Tampa, and I didn't notice it on the new contract. Was that an error?
I think it's on there.
Where?
Number 7.
Yeah, but where does it say
Florida School Board Attorneys Association, top paragraph, first sentence, number
Okay,
7.
because on the old contract, it said, let me, hold on a minute. The attorney may attend the annual fall joint FSBA conference, which is held in Tampa.
Is
I
that
guess
the-
that's just not.
Is that the
not necessary.
2013 or
That's
is that the
13.
backup?
That's 13.
Okay, on the backup, number 7,
I'm looking.
okay, it's the
It
top
doesn't
of
say
the next
anything about the
page.
FSBA conferences.
Professional development, the school board shall pay the attorney's membership dues in the following professional organizations: the Florida Bar, Florida School Board Attorneys Association, the National School Board Association, Council of School Board Attorneys, Clay County Bar Association.
Where does it say Florida School Board Association?
This is the contract that was on the backup.
I've got it right here, Mrs. Karakas.
Well, number 7. Look at number 7.
No, okay. I've got it right here.
This is right off of our backup.
Okay. And my other question then is, I do disagree with one part of the contract, and that is, and under number 6, work conditions, It says the attorney does not need and the school board shall not provide secretarial or paralegal services. Provision of such services is the responsibility of the attorney. In the event that the nature of the position and workload change, the provision of secretarial and paralegal services may be renegotiated between the parties. I would like to strike what I just read and just and insert the school board shall provide the attorney with secretarial support. And here's my rationale. When this attorney was here before, his office was upstairs. And if he was gone somewhere, he would put a note on the door, I'll be back at 1:30, and Marilyn across the hall, I could say, you know, where he is or whatever. I don't want to get back into the situation we were in before. I want a secretary. Now that that office is in one of our relocatables, it's my understanding that the schools call the attorney's office quite frequently, and the secretary who's in there knows the contacts at the schools and has she's had 2 years of experience learning the lay of the land, so to speak. There are times that if Mr. Bickner is hired, there's times that he will be away at a school or with a teacher or with the attorney, or with trying to keep Mr. Davis straight over here. But there will be times that he has to be away from the office, and I feel very strongly that someone should be in that office to make appointments, keep the schedule going. She has done a lot of the legal work for Mr. D'Agata over the 2 years. She is not a, quote, paralegal, but I think she has done the job and done it well and learned a lot over the last 2 years. So I would encourage the board to employ legal services. They're sitting out there in a relocatable. If the attorney happens to be gone somewhere, there's no, if Mr. McCauley needs a question asked, you know, what is he supposed to do? And so I feel very strongly, and I expressed this, I called Mr. Bickner and expressed that to him, that I felt that we need to have a secretary in that office for the good of the district. So that was the only big thing, and I just wanted, now let me ask you this, Ms. Karakas, because I'm not familiar with this. The National School Board, whatever they said, how was he was he getting that before?
Previously, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
On the 11 contract, he did get that?
And the 13,
Is
I
it on the
believe.
13 contract too?
You'd have to look, because I don't have it memorized.
Let's see.
Why was it too expensive for Mr. D'Agata then?
That's what
I don't remember that.
That's why I'm asking questions.
Do we know the dollar amount for that annual?
I have no idea.
Do you have any comment?
Well, I know FSBA and the Superintendent's Association certainly are inexpensive either. So, but we want, my feelings about this is this is really hard because we're all coming from a different perspective, and as much as you want to close the door on the past is there, and we all do remember it, but we have to go forth and think long range, what is in the best interest of the district. In the 14 years that Mr. Bickner served the board, I had no complaints other than occasionally saying, I wanted you to call me back in 2 hours, and you took till tomorrow morning. That's okay. I can live with that. But as far as legal knowledge and knowing that I felt secure going by what he said, I felt very comfortable that this district would be protected from legal challenges with the best knowledge available. He has 14 years of school board experience, and I feel like, as Ms. Bullock just said, December 21st is just a few days away. I do not want, well, just like today, some things happened, and we're going to need probably the advice of an attorney. We need to be able to have that attorney in place, and I would hope that this, and Mr. D'Agata has told me that he will be glad to work with who we hired to kind of make a smooth transition. We've tried to get cases closed. You've done a really good job on that. So we've tried to get things settled down because he assured me that there will be a smooth transition, and that and I do want to thank you now for the 2 years of service. We have developed a very good working relationship, and I'm proud of that. But and I wish you well in your new position with the firm in Jacksonville. But that's all I have to say about this, as far as Gump would say.
So I just have one more thing. I know Ms. Bola indicated that about being friends. Well, actually, I have several attorney friends, but I'm only recommending one of them. And I'm sure that you have attorney friends as well, correct?
I have an ex-brother-in-law.
Okay.
Pretty much. Well,
I always give people consolations when they have attorney friends. But I'll tell you this. So Ms. Stutter, and I think that I've said it to all of you, what I'm looking to do is make sure that we stay on a positive path forward. And there have been changes, and there's plenty of work to do. Not any one attorney can possibly handle it all, and it's never happened as far back as I could study in this district, okay? And you've just gotten bigger and bigger. The fact is that you need full-time in-house school board counsel, and in my view, and I've told you this, I gave you all the reports, all the numbers, you need a full-time staff attorney. The operations end, the superintendent, the cabinet members, and all of your leadership at the school sites deserve a full-time in-house staff attorney. And oftentimes, the school board attorney, as has been noted, and as I've noted before, is even conflicted if that attorney happens to even be available, okay? So you really, I would love to see you get there. I think you will get there. I feel that is promising. And however you go about it, I just want to make sure you go about it, okay? Yeah. And for purposes of tonight, I did provide all of the board members with what I called my cheat sheet to ensure you that, competitive solicitation is not required here. What is required is that your decision-making is done here, okay? And that's really what you're talking about here. So that's good. And that you make a decision with sound business judgment that is not arbitrary and capricious. And I've had more than one client ask me, well, what does that mean? Okay. It means what you think it means. Okay. If there's undue influence, corruption, duress, all of that nasty stuff. Okay. In the absence of that, you've got your discretion. Okay, and we heard a speaker talk about your school, board member duties. You all have you're well aware, okay, of your duties as a board member. What your duty is here is to exercise sound business judgment and not act in an arbitrary and capricious manner. Really, that's it. And I am, again, I'm looking to make sure that what it is that you're on the cusp of entering into is lawful, and whoever the attorney is, whether it's Mr. Bickner or someone else, would probably appreciate that, okay? Because you want a contract that's understandable and enforceable. I will be available to you, okay? And I'll be available to Mr. Bickner, whoever, okay? That's one of the deals that I made with this law firm. I am going to be around. I'm not far away, and I do believe, if I may, to chime in, I'm really happy with the progress that the office has made in systems and operational systems and being available, giving guidance to the school sites. All among the other things that you mentioned with respect to a school board attorney assistant, whatever you want to call it, you save a bundle of money, okay, in litigation when you don't outsource to a paralegal, number one. Number two, this organization, I believe, has become comfortable with the processes, forms, we've developed a web page, interactive stuff, that this particular assistant is just tremendous, okay? And she would be an excellent assistant to a school board attorney or a staff attorney, okay? So just consider that this is a momentous occasion. I provided to the board in the summer where you can get, just on dollars and cents, you can achieve much greater efficiency and much better efficacy, okay? You're making both sides of the house happy, providing good counsel, staffed up legal department for both the board and operations, the superintendent, his cabinet, and leadership.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Daggett, for your input. We've got how many students now? 35, 40,000 with all the kids? 40,000? Where'd you get that? You're up to 40. And we are growing. We're not the district of 18,000 kids that I met when I first got on this school board. We have grown quite a bit, and we will continue to grow because people want to move to Clay County to be in our schools. And we want to have the very best that we can to put the right people in the right place in this district. I do think that as we continue to grow, the time will certainly come that we will have to look at either employing a firm or some other attorney because the legal area with ESE and with Dr. Kemp and buildings and all the steps you have to go through and trying to keep everybody legal, Dr. Legutko, HR, it's a whole ball game. So I feel like at some time, I don't mean today or tomorrow, but at some time, the time is going to come where we're going to have to look perhaps at a second. But right now, we need an attorney sitting here. We started off having a part-time attorney who worked in his own office and came to the board meetings, and then we got real brave and got us a full-time attorney and worked, and the workload has continued to grow with the multiple facets of things that we are facing today that we didn't face 20 years ago. I mean, just look at what we hear in disciplinaries and different things that come up. The attorney really has to be on top of everything and be sharp. And it's there's a lot to cover, but I'm comfortable with this, but I still want to delete the part about secretarial services. As I said before, I think that we have to also do what's in the best interest of this attorney. I think this attorney is going to get overwhelmed trying to be at a deposition and there's no one answering the phone. We certainly can't revert everything back over to Ms. Bush. She's got her hands full with Mr. Davis and staff. I mean, but I do ask y'all to go along with me on providing secretarial support too. Yes. Okay.
In my opinion, you know that I'm not comfortable not having gone out to bid for this, but I'm increasingly uncomfortable not having gone out to bid and creating a special contract for this attorney. It just does not give the appearance of a clean process. To me, if you're not going to go out to bid, then the person that you're hiring should be comfortable with the contract that we currently have with our current attorney. Which I'm not even comfortable with that process, but I could get more on board if the contract was not so customized.
Okay.
So under number 6, where it talks about the secretary.
Let's see. Let me pull it
work
down.
conditions, the attorney does not need, and the school board shall not provide. We want to just cross out the attorney does not need, and the Leave the
Yes.
school board shall, cross out not, and have the school board shall provide secretary or paralegal services,
Secretarial.
and then remove the bottom two.
I had just kept it simple. You can word it any way you like. I
Okay.
just said, because I was looking back at the 2013, and it said the school board shall provide the attorney with secretarial support by contracting, blah, 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 with an
Mrs.
outside
Bola wants
person.
to end right at
Just
secretarial.
say with secretarial support, period.
Okay. Okay, so
And I
we'll,
mean, that would take
we'll
care of
just
it.
cross off that on the bottom.
Starting with the attorney does not need and down to the word parties,
Right,
period.
so
Just cross that out.
So what's in there says, the school board shall provide secretarial services or support.
Will provide, or shall,
It says, the school board shall.
yeah, okay. Shall.
And then, Mr. D'Agata, could you repeat what the sentence should say?
Oh, I've got it. I wrote it down.
Well, I think we
Add
could
that
just
to it, Mr. D'Agata.
take number 7, or not number 7, the
Excuse me?
termination clause from the previous contract and impose it on this contract.
No, I'm not comfortable with that. Mr. D'Agata, could you answer my question?
Yep. So I would add on to paragraph 10
Okay.
at the end of your first paragraph. In no event will attorney, capitalize attorney, receive severance pay in excess of the limits set forth in
You're going too
section.
fast. Hang on a second.
Sorry.
In excess.
Of the limits set forth.
Start over.
Okay. In no event
Uh-huh.
will attorney
Mm-hmm.
receive severance pay in excess of the limits set forth in section 215.425 of the Florida statutes.
At 214
215.425.
See, now I'm doing what you
Yeah,
did.
now you're messing
You
me
got me
up there.
doing it. All right. In no event will attorney receive severance pay in excess of the limits of set forth in section 215.425. All right. So with those two changes, is that anything else? Are we good with that?
I'm not good with it.
I'm not good with it either.
Okay.
I call for the
Well-
vote.
You don't have the floor.
All right. We have a motion by Ms. Karakis, a second by Ms. Bullock. Is there any further discussion?
That was a move?
Excuse me?
I didn't hear a move. I didn't second it.
There was a motion by Ms. Karakis and a second by Ms. Bullock, but that wasn't with the, but do you want to withdraw and start over again because we have changed the,
Why don't I just,
Yeah.
well, move to accept the contract with the two corrections that were made?
we'll withdraw your first
Withdraw the
motion
first
and
motion?
the
I'll
second
second.
this.
All right.
All right, now let's start
All
again.
right, so I move that we accept the contract for Mr. Bruce Bickner with the two corrections that were made. Do you
I
need me to?
second that.
And that was a motion by Ms. Karakis, second by Ms. Bullock. Any further discussion? All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say no.
No.
Motion carries 3-2 with Ms. Bola and Ms. Gilhousen dissenting. The next item on the agenda is recommendation to adjust the superintendent's salary. This item was submitted by Mrs. Bola.
I'm still voting.
I'm sorry.
Oh, I didn't vote. Excuse me just a minute.
It's making mine real big. Yeah, she's on a big font. Yeah, I don't know. I did.
I'm sorry to have to go back. I just want to make sure that we have the date, the effective date, because that wasn't identified.
Oh, Ms.
She didn't
Karakis,
expand.
we didn't put the effective date on this.
Okay. Thanks.
Ms. Karakis?
Yeah, sorry. Okay.
Can we, Mr. Dick,
It said
do we have to
mine.
make another motion to put the effective date on it?
Internal server
You could just
error.
withdraw again and then
Mrs.
re-up
Bush?
it if you'd like.
What is the effective date you want on this contract? We don't have a date. We'll say,
December 21st, the day that he's leave? Mrs. Bush, her computer's not.
What would you suggest, Mr. Daggett? You're leaving
would
the
put the
21st.
21st.
We're out, this district's out till,
I expect to work with Bruce
Yeah, I want you to
whenever it
have-
is. So
why don't we do December 21st? And then, then he's good through the 21st, maybe do the 22nd?
All right.
How about that? Does that sound?
so long as everyone knows I'm going on a little bit of a break for the December 22nd onward.
But you'll work, you said you were going to work with Mr. Bickner.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm kidding, yeah.
So we're going to put the 22nd in here?
Well, the 22nd is a Saturday.
Now, you want her to withdraw what we just approved and
Just to
start
make
over?
it clean.
Just to make it clean.
Oh, my
That's-
God.
We've already voted and approved it. Why don't you just make a different, a next motion that this date would be effective December 22nd?
All right. I move that the contract for Mr. Bruce Bickner go into effect December 22nd, 2018.
Second.
Have a motion by Ms. Carrick, a second by Mrs. Bullock. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, so we've got that taken care of.
Ashley didn't vote.
I didn't
Excuse
vote.
me?
You didn't ask for nays. I
Oh,
didn't vote.
nay.
Nay.
It was, motion passes 3-2. I'm so used to 5-0 votes now. Y'all are spoiling me down there. It's 3-2 with Ms. Bowen and Ms. Gilhousen dissenting. Okay, now, next.
You could go either way, right?
I can go either way on that one.
Hey, whatever.
He's already
Recommendation to adjust the superintendent's salary, item submitted by Mrs. Bullock. So
we
Ms.
still have to
Bullock, you
vote.
have the floor.
We still have to vote on
Oh,
that.
we got to vote again, okay. Okay, have you all voted?
Yes.
Okay, how about we have a motion and a second, then I'm going to turn the floor over to you.
My question is, do you need an actual amount in the motion? Because part of my hope was that we could discuss. And I can always amend the motion
Yeah.
if the amount is
Why
not
don't you go ahead and make
satisfactory
a
to
motion,
everyone.
and then that'll give us
I don't think
that'll
you-
give us
I
a
don't think you
sweet
need an
spot to
amount.
start at.
Ms. Bull, I
Sweet
think
spot?
Why don't you?
That'll give us a sweet spot to start at.
I'd like to move that we, what was the official terminology? Sorry.
Excuse me?
Hang on just a second. I'm on the wrong page. Thank you. There we go. I'd like to recommend that we adjust the superintendent's salary from the current salary, which I believe is $134,500.
Somewhere in that ballpark.
344, something like that. I would like to move that to be $159,000 a year, starting January 1st of 2019.
Okay, do I have a second for discussion?
Second.
I have a motion by Ms. Boland, a second by Ms. Gilhousen. Now, let's have some discussion.
And what I'd like to do is basically give you support as to why I wanted to go to a fairly substantial number. There are two pieces. There's one attachment to my item that was submitted, but I'm just going to read the paragraph that I submitted. The intended outcome is to recognize and reward the superintendent's accomplishments for the past 24 months. It has been 24 lovely months with you, which include but are not limited to an increase in our graduation rate, returning the Clay County School District to an A rating, improving the standing of our school district from 18th to the top 10 in the state, which we are 8th at the present time. I know when Dr. Wiggins spoke to the board a few months ago, she was concerned that we were just haphazardly giving raises and stipends, and understandably, she was one of the first to get this stipend or raise or whatever you'd like to call it. At the time, I believe it was a stipend. Now I'm looking at an actual salary adjustment based on her training. She had been sent to another state to get training, and the state allowed her an additional $3,000 or whatever it was at the time. In the 2 years that you've represented us, Mr. Davis, you have gone to the leadership in Florida, third session of Leadership Florida, if I'm not mistaken, representing us. You've completed the Commissioner of Education training for accelerating student achievement. You've completed the Commissioner of Education training for closing the achievement gap, the STEM fourth generation training. You've also, I looked at some of the other information that was provided by your staff as to what you've attended, how you've represented Clay County in so many and various ways throughout not just Clay County, but also throughout the state and indeed the nation. You have built a school, of course, with the help of Dr. Kemp, debt-free, in an area that we absolutely were crying for help in. And I say that as we because I was at the school that some of those students from Oakleaf would have been sent to. And I attended those meetings knowing the angst that the parents were feeling, knowing the concern that that entire neighborhood was feeling, and the need for that school was incredible. I have said this and over, and I can't emphasize this enough. The superintendent is responsible for the operation of the largest employer in Clay County and manages a budget, an operating budget of over $400 million. And he is paid on the average something to the tune of $25,000, pretty much less than those that are comparable counties around us. This is, to me, not a bonus. This is something that we should have done in a much smaller amount a year ago, and we should have, as a school board, made this adjustment to his salary so that it wasn't a huge amount per se. Some will view this as huge. I view this as something that, a salary that is truly commensurate with the experience that you bring to us, truly commensurate with the operation that you have done with our school district, and truly commensurate in competition with those school districts that are around us, that we compete with on a day-to-day basis and a year-to-year basis. And I had indicated that I didn't want to go any more than $30,000, and that pretty much gives me about a $25,000 increase to his salary. I know that there will be a cry of, how can you do this? You've earned it, Mr. Davis. And I can't think of any other way to show you that me personally, as a school board member, as a community member, looking at the financial impact that this school district has on Clay County, that to me is almost not enough in comparison to what you bring to this organization.
Okay. Ms. Kilcalvison, do you have any comments?
I do. I agree, Mr. Davis. You have definitely, I mean, we practice performance-based pay in this county and in this state. And so on that facet alone, I believe all of our employees should receive compensation based on their performance. And my little bit of angst I have is our administrators went 10 plus years without seeing an increase to their salary. So that's a big jump in 1 year. And I apologize for not asking you this before the meeting, but do you know off the top of your head what we gave our administrators this last year?
I think it's somewhere between 3%, maybe between 1.9 to 3%. Maybe.
Did the 3% amount to like $2,500?
Somewhere around there.
$2,300.
Yeah. Okay. So around $2,300. Now, also, the board just voted to approve an attorney's contract that we're going to pay $144,000 directly to our attorney. Mm-hmm. It's ludicrous to me that any employee of this school district would make more than the CEO of the district. Mm-hmm. So to me, because of this vote just now, his base salary would be in excess of $144,000, and then the performance-based pay would be on top of that. And to me, that's fair. That's what that's how I think we should treat our employees, that the one that's leading our organization should make the most money. That's how it works in every other business.
All right, and so what number are you looking at total?
So if we're at 144 for our attorney, plus the 2,300 would put us at 146. But that's if you start his base pay at 144, but I don't think it should be there. I think it should be north of that because, like we talked about, his base should be more than our attorney.
Absolutely.
Is that including the supplement that he gets from the state for his superintendent certification, or is that
I think
a
that's
bonus on top?
Just a couple.
I don't know what your.
I believe it's a couple $1,000.
So through the chair, the same similar compensation, the way that the teachers receive money for best and brightest is the same mentality that that's a bonus.
So it's
I can go to it's pass through money. So I can I went through a course and $2,000.
So that would not be part of this conversation, in my opinion, because we don't consider best and brightest
that
when
because
we get
he worked for it.
Right.
We get certified board, but we get zilch.
So what do you all feel like is a good starting point for a base
that's
salary?
why.
Can I ask what the salary is right now that the superintendent makes?
Yes, ma'am. Through the chair and Dr. Legoka, make sure I'm right. It's 135, 32.
32.
There's it.
Oh.
632.
And 9 cents.
And
9 cents. Oh,
And
you
9
do
cents.
have, you did your homework, Ms. Bullock. Okay. All right. So start with 135, 632 is what his current salary is.
That's correct.
Right.
Okay.
That's right.
And
But
then
I
there's
say we need to start at 144
Oh,
because of our
At least
just
that
our
or
last
more.
one.
Yeah.
Right.
I agree with you. As I said the other day at the agenda review, I strongly believe that the superintendent of schools, over 5,000 odd employees, the largest employer in the district, should be the highest paid person in
Right.
this district.
Now, if you look at how
So I'm not comparing it to an assistant superintendent or to the attorney. It's looking at what superintendents around the state of Florida are making and wanting to encourage Mr. Davis to continue loving Clay County and wanting to be here and not have him stolen from us by another county who is envious that we have moved up to number 8 and are moving forward. I think we have to protect what's good.
No, I understand that, but I worry if we make a decision based on that, are we making those same decisions on all of our other employees? Like, do we compete on school bus driver salaries? Do we compete on, you know what I'm saying?
And we all have a spot about that, and we're trying to get there, but.
Right. But it's top down. Do you know what I'm saying?
Right.
To me, it's if your leader should set the tone for what the expectation is for the rest of the district.
Right.
And so if we say we value him more than we value other employees by feeling that his salary is worth competing on, but other salaries are less important. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's my angst over it. And I do believe he needs to be the top paid person in the organization, no doubt. But I'm struggling with a number.
Well, be thinking, and I'll go to the other two, and we just need to find a number. I think we are all in agreement that he deserves an increase in salary. And thank you all for not saying the dirty word supplement. We don't talk supplements anymore. Salary adjustment.
So under the current model, Mr. Daggeta's contract is 130, and he's at 130, and Mr. Davis is at 135. So it's a $5,000 spread. So that would be at 149. And then if you did a salary increase of the 2,300 that we gave our other administrators, that brings us up to 151.
Ms. Kilhausen, can I ask a question?
I'm sorry, yes.
Are you recommending that the salary be increased and then performance pay on top of that? I mean, and I'm not going to use the word supplement, but in the past, the supplement that was there was getting those raises every year, and that's how it grew from whatever that starting number
It
was.
started off at 3,000 and went to
ended
29.
up at 29,000. So I agree with what you're saying, and I won't interrupt. I'm just wondering, are you wanting to add that, and then every year add that performance pay increase, or?
No, we can't.
No.
We don't want to get into performance pay.
Right.
This is,
but I'm asking because Ms. Gilhousen said the 2,300, so I'm wondering.
I'm just trying to think fair. That's where I'm at. And I don't have a decision. I don't have a number in mind. I'm
Right.
just trying to think. I don't want to treat any employee different than we treat the rest of our employees.
We need to work. This is, we couldn't discuss this at the agenda review. And I want everyone to have a chance to give input into their thoughts, because, as I said the other day, we're just going to have to find that sweet spot that we can all live with. I mean, and see there's a number there somewhere that we can all be comfortable with. I understand exactly what Ms. Bola said at 159. I understand what Ms. Gilhousen said is look at the rest of our employees, and y'all know we have angst every year, that we can't do more. So we have to be cognizant of those things. But so you haven't set on a number yet. Be thinking about it. Ms. Bullock, what do you think?
Well, I agree with you as far as the CEO should make, even though we're comparing apples to oranges, because the school board attorney is our employee. So that really wouldn't have to be, but I agree with that. I think when people look at that, and especially the wonderful job that Mr. Davis has done. However, I've heard him say this on many occasions, it's a team effort. It's not just Mr. Davis, it's the staff, it's our teachers, it's our support staff, it's all of those people that work together. So I'm, like Ms. Gilshausen, have a little bit of concern about such a large amount, because if I'm a bus driver and it's going to be more than I even make, the salary increase, then I kind of go a little bit of gasp for that. But, he certainly is deserving. If we paid every employee what they were worth, Mrs. Legucco, we'd be out of checks today. So, anyway.
Okay. Ms. Karakas?
Well, I agree, too, that Mr. Davis has done remarkable things here in this district. And we are, our graduation rates improved, our fund balance has improved, our state ranking has improved, and we do owe it all to Mr. Davis and his vision and his team and everybody working so well that they do. So, and I also agree that he should be paid more than the rest. I think my concerns, and I did talk to Mr. Davis about this, so this is no surprise to him, is that we should set some benchmarks. That the amount should be set for the 1 year with a review, which Ms. Bola pointed out that our school board policy said that, and that it just be reviewed annually, that it not be eligible for the pay performance increases, but that every year we just review it based on the benchmarks. Are we right now we're in the top 10? Do we move to the top 5? That type of thing. And one of the things that I'm really concerned about is that if for some reason a new superintendent comes in, that this is not the norm, and that the new superintendent would come in at what the state sets, and we would then have a meeting and a discussion to decide, do we want to go further with the salary or not. I don't want it to be a given, which is what we had in the past, and it grew out of. So I think we should set benchmarks that must be met and maintained, so that we're accountable to the taxpayers. This, like Ms. Gilhousen said, this is taxpayers' money, and we have to be accountable. So I think that if it's not in our policy, it should be written, or maybe it should be written up as a contract to the superintendent, similar to what we would do if it were an appointed superintendent, that we're adjusting the salary to this amount. This will be reviewed annually. And if we really want to go into it, we can set and say, Mr. Davis, you get us in the top 5, and we're going to jump it up even more. Or if we go top 15, we're lowering it. How specific do we want to get? It's up to the board, but I think we need to have some little benchmarks there. So, a number, is that what you're looking for me?
We need to talk money.
I think 159 is too high.
What do
I'm
you
just gonna
think?
put it out
What do
there.
you think would be?
I think
The sweet-
Skillhausen's 149, 150 would be fine. I think, let's take the first year, and then next year, when we see even greater improvements, let's move it up again.
This is the second year, just a point of order. This is the second year. And hopefully we'll have him for another two,
Right.
obviously, since you've been
And I
elected.
guess the thing is, as an elected official, Mr. Davis came here knowing that he was walking into a job that paid, I think the first year it was 128 or 126. It was a big pay cut to you, and we realized that. And so this will put him back to where he was before he came here. So I think, but you know what? I'm open to the rest, whatever the board decides, I'm.
If I may just respond to the comment about the election and knowing that Mr. Davis did know what he was coming into. And he also knew that, I believe for 2 years, if I'm not mistaken, the superintendent that he replaced was making quite a lot more than what he was going to make when he came in. And although that superintendent had management knowledge, he didn't have education knowledge. And Clay County has been far better off for having someone with the education expertise. And I guess a good point is, just in showing, and I realize we will most likely have an elected superintendent for quite some time to come, but our deputy superintendent left us and is now making $195,000 in Lake County with the potential of a $35,000 bonus. Now, I realize that's her choice to leave and and to be an appointed. And I'm not trying to say that we should just throw a big number out there. That is not the intent. My concern is that we've not rewarded the expertise that we've had for 2 years now. And I don't feel that it's imperative of us to set up benchmarks because those are self-imposed with this particular superintendent. And I think we have all seen his passion for what he wants with Clay County, with the people that he has brought in, for the successes that we've had. And I know that it is a team effort. I'm very much aware that it's a team effort because I was on that team 4 years ago. And I knew what it took to keep the county floating, basically. But this Mr. Davis has been exactly what we've needed. And with his awareness of what the salary is when he came in, he also knew that we had been giving our superintendents a fairly substantial increase each year, with the exception of the 2 years prior to his entering. Salary was done then, though, and it was sitting there. So just a comment.
Can I respond? Sure. The 2 years that you're referencing, it wasn't 2 years. Mrs. Studdard, it had to be 1 month.
Oh.
1 month, and Mrs. Studdard realized and brought it to the board. So it was 1 month.
I found out the $3,000 supplement had become $29,000, and I almost had heart failure. I said, can't happen. It didn't happen. It did happen.
I don't think I gave a number, but I'd say $150,000, and then on top of that, he gets $2,000 that he's already earned, which is great. That make it $152, even though we don't pay that, is my understanding. Is that correct? So, and then he's in line for a $3,500 supplement. I don't know when that will take place, but you would be able to.
So through the chair, there's another class from the Department of Education that allows CEOs to go through a rigorous, and I say rigorous, a year or over a year, maybe you have 2 years to complete that process. So there's a potential of $3,500 if I complete that class, which again is a pass-through, linked to like Best and Brightest for leaders
Are you interested in doing that?
He's working on
I'm
that.
working, and it's a lot, and it's
But
it's
rigorous is his
time-consuming.
key word, so that's his middle
That's
name,
actually
so rigorous.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that means it's extremely
So
complex.
that'd
It
be
is
35, 45,
It's-
5,500 extra.
Plus 100,
But
plus
he's
the,
worked-
if the 150 plus that, he would get, of course, again, that's, the state pays that supplement.
Right.
Mrs. Bowler, would
Okay.
you be
All right.
agreeable to
We haven't
150?
heard what your number is, Ms. Stoddard.
I'm trying to find that sweet spot, girls. Okay. All right, as I understand it, now, I didn't hear Ashley Ms. Gilhousen give a number, but
She was at the
Okay,
149.
I did.
150?
It was 151,300, but that's with the $2,300 bonus.
Okay, all
Yeah,
right.
so-
Well, I'm going to do some round numbers. Ms. Gilhousen, basically, you were talking 150. I mean, 150,000. Tina said 150. Janice said 150. Ms. Bola said 159. Okay.
So I use your line
Why
and
don't
say
we?
I could count
Why
to
don't
three?
we? No.
150, 150, 150.
Yeah.
I want to see if y'all can live with, you know. Let's see. He's at 135.6 now.
Mr. Davis, I know this is so awkward for you.
This
I
is awkward.
apologize.
Don't you want to just
Through the chair.
Apologize. This is so awkward for
Okay.
you.
At least it's going in the right direction, though.
The chairman's trying to steer it quietly.
Yeah, just let me
She's
think.
calculating.
Just let me think through. All right, ladies.
What was his salary in Duval? Do you remember?
I think it was your salary in Duval 150?
Of course, that's a huge system.
I honestly, I'd probably have to ask my wife.
Yeah. She said you took a $20,000 pay cut when you came, so
That's
must have been
2 years ago.
146.
So you've got two
Yeah.
more years of experience.
Okay, let me ask you this. Could y'all live with 153? Can you live with
Better than
153?
150.
Huh?
I said it's better, sorry.
Or could you live with 155? I like keeping.
Do I hear 159? Sold!
I could live with 151.
No.
I could live with 151.
How about 154? That's between
You're going in the
153 and
wrong
155.
direction.
How about 154?
No.
165.
No.
Ms. Paiva, how much do you want?
Yeah.
Not appropriate.
Could you live with 154, ladies? Seriously.
I can, yes.
I can.
Okay. All right.
I'd rather see it closer to 150.
Well,
I would rather the 150.
I have two people that said they could live with 154, and I
Yes.
can count to three.
There you go. I will amend my motion.
I would like us to all be on the same page.
Well,
Yeah.
let's,
I would. I want this to be unanimous. I
Right.
don't want.
Well, I wanted
yeah,
the attorney.
as a point of
All
order,
right.
I can live
I
with
can
one.
live with it.
so as a point of order, you have a motion with a dollar figure pending.
Yes.
Right.
It was seconded, so you're going to have to vote against it and then re-up.
Okay.
Can you just amend
Your
it?
dollar figure was 159, right?
Correct.
So
What number did we say?
the first motion was 159. So if you wanted to go to a lesser amount, you need to vote no on this one. And then we're going to entertain a motion for
Mr.
another
Daggett,
amount.
would it be easier to just amend her motion to the one, what'd you say?
No,
What
ma'am,
number?
because this has been seconded.
Yeah.
So you're going to have to vote on that and then just
Let's just vote on it.
Let's just vote on
re-up.
it.
No, that's not right. Well, just do it. Let's just do
Go
it.
ahead. Let us,
I know it's wrong.
well, all right. So all those in favor of the motion to adjust the superintendent's salary to 159 effective January 1st, 2019, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say no.
No.
Okay, so the motion fails 1-4. Ms. Bola?
Yeah, I can.
I mean, the rest of us
Just gotta find
dissented, all the rest of it.
I'm coming.
Okay. We vote no on it. Let's see. Well,
That's all right, I like this better. Hey, thank you. All right,
it won't take mine.
sorry. Like to be, okay. Did you vote?
Okay, now I'll entertain a motion.
I move that the superintendent's salary be adjusted to $154,000 a year, beginning January 1st, 2019.
And is there a second?
Second.
Who was that?
I did.
Miss Miss Bullock? Okay, I have a motion by Miss Bola, second by Miss Bullock, to raise the superintendent's salary to $154 effective January 1st. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed say no. Motion carries 5-0.
Yours come up yet?
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. Did yours come up?
Yeah, mine just came
It
up.
just came up.
Yeah.
Mine hadn't come up yet.
Yours says no, not voted yet.
Mine's not come up. Here we go.
What's next? Mr. Davis, it's 8:21.
Okay. Yeah, you lost, but you won. You lost the bet, but you won. It's the time. I don't know.
I said
Okay.
8:30. Renalise said 8:20.
School board, excuse me, Human Resources Special Actions. I'll entertain a motion.
I'll move approval.
Second.
Have a motion by Ms. Karakis, second by Mrs. Bola. All those in favor indicate by saying aye. I can't get my tongue in.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed say no. Motion carries 5-0.
Well,
Okay.
No, I got it. Thank you.
The next item is the public hearing to approve as advertised proposed revisions to School Board Policy 4.12, Health and Safety Medication for Students. I'll open the public hearing. Is there anyone here who wishes to address this item? If not, I'll close the public hearing and bring it back to the board. I'll entertain a motion.
I'll move approval.
second.
Have a motion by Ms. Karakis, a second by Ms. Bola. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed say no. Motion carries 5-0. Okay. Next, school board attorney remarks.
I just want to say thank you. It has been an adventure, to say the least. It's just been so good to be part of positive movement forward. And I want to make sure that goes forward. And I've got to applaud the board. The superintendent, I remember telling you when I interviewed here, you got a great superintendent here. He's great to work with. His cabinet is tremendous, and I'll tell you, I can't say enough about the school personnel that I've had the pleasure to work with here. That's really what's holding you up, and it's just such an awesome service to this community to have such a great group of people that are so dedicated. I've not seen it elsewhere. There have been challenges and frustrations, but they've been far outweighed by achievements. I hope that you've all shared that outlook over the past couple of years. Keep up the momentum. And please, I'm going to reiterate it just one more time publicly, Ms. Studdard. Take a look and look again at the legal services overview. And please make your determination sooner rather than later to help out the superintendent and his staff. And please consider, with respect to policy development, I gave you at our last a wonderful policy review workshop on October 30th, my little wish list. And I'm happy to redistribute it again to focus on a couple of areas of policy. And first and foremost, really, here we are talking about contracts and authority. We really do need to start with the contract authority granted by the board to the superintendent. So just please revisit that. I'll be happy to redistribute that wish list that I provided to you. And thank you very much.
And if you're bored on Thursday nights, you can tune in.
This will be must-see TV for me.
Thank you, Mr. Dagana. Okay, school board member remarks. Who wants to start? Ms. Bullock, you start tonight.
Sure, new guy on the block. Well, I just want to send out a little shout out to the Keystone Heights High School Key Club. The other night after the administrators' party, I went to help with their induction, and they inducted 24 students, making a total of 70 students in the Key Club, and they're doing a fabulous job, and they'll be helping the Lake Region Kiwanis with the Christmas parade. So if you're bored on Saturday, 6 o'clock, downtown Keystone is where everybody will be. Come to see the parade for Keystone. Thank you.
Ms. Bola?
November was a busy month. I need to do my shout outs first. Thank you, Miss Paula Summers at Oakleaf Village. Veterans Day concert was awesome. And get many, many invitations from her. Awesome music happening there. Awesome, ASL club, all sorts of clubs, and a personal wish for your speedy recovery. RHS drama, there was a comedy at Ridgeview High that they put on that was absolutely phenomenal. And Orange Park High School had their night of one acts, which was absolutely phenomenal. And I just wanted to do a shout out to all of the drama departments in this county, because when we get invitations, we come. And my husband is very, very excited about the drama activities. It gives us an out for Friday night, so maybe Friday night and then leads to Saturday parades. You just never know. But exceptional leadership by our faculty, exceptional leadership. Those of you able to attend the Gary Brooks event, that was just an inspiring representation of climate and culture. I kept thinking of Mr. McCauley, because Gary Brooks, not the glasses, but Gary Brooks spoke with humor, obviously. He is a Facebook phenom for teachers, but he truly talked to the employees, whether they were teachers or anyone, about how we can affect the climate and culture of each of our schools. And I just wanted to do a shout out to the Clay Education Foundation, and especially Michelle Biley from Doctors Inlet for helping make that happen. Donna Warner and the CTE folks, the community partnership program that they had at Orange Park High School just keeps growing. It was larger than ever this year, and the food here again, our culinary students are awesome. I love when they invite us to eat. Obviously, I'm a teacher. That happens all. Anyway, reminder to all of you, you can still sign up for the virtual marathon coming up in January supporting Orange Park High School. Virtual marathon. You can go online. Ms. Fowler's responsible, so make certain that you look for that in the Clay Connection, because I believe that's going to be advertised again. Thanks to Ms. Johnson and Mr. Faulkner from today. I got to be the, word caller for the spelling bee at Orange Park Junior High, the announcer. And we went well into the lunch hour, had to go up to the media center to complete the spelling bee. And oh my, those children were definitely prepared. Looking forward to Argyle and W.E. Cherry's spelling bees next week. I brought along a poster from the foundation for those of you who, like my husband, look for a car. I've got the education license plate on the back of my car. It's got the apple, the red apple. He keeps telling me, this is the only way I know your car. And I said, well, you're going to have to learn a new license plate. because they are now going to do a new license plate. And instead of the apple, they've come up with a new design to entice more people to buy this particular license plate. The money from this particular license plate, when purchased in Clay County, stays in Clay County and comes to the Education Foundation. So it's a really cool looking license plate with palm trees and children reading. So definitely look for that. Let's see, just a minute. My last request, I believe, is Mr. Davis. In an effort to provide financial transparency, and I sort of asked for this before, but it is now December. We talked about doing this hopefully in January, February, sometime in the near future, showing financial transparency and fiscal responsibility. I'd like to request that we have an opportunity, hopefully in January or February, to begin the process of reviewing the cost options for our safety and security measures. And starting to look at what are we going to be doing next year? What are we going to be doing in the future? Are we going to the SROs in the elementary schools? Are we staying with the SSOs? Really looking at what the cost differentiations are for those. Continuing to use Orange Park, Green Cove Springs Police Departments. Those, from my perspective, have been very successful, so hopefully going that direction. I've requested, we've discussed having a workshop to start a plan for the millage that we will be getting at the end of the year, but I don't think that it's too early to start working on the plan. A workshop does not vote on anything.
Right.
It's a plan, it's a discussion, it's an opportunity to say, what's the best use for these funds and how can we best use them for our safety and security, and efficiently use them for safety, security, and other related operations. So finally, and that was not my last thing, I apologize. My very last thing is to wish everyone, as Ms. Paiva said, a Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Happy Kwanzaa, every single solitary holiday that you celebrate over the next few weeks. Be with family, relax, enjoy, and stay safe. Thank you.
Okay, Ms. Gilhausen.
I'm going to keep it short and sweet. I just want to wish everybody a Merry Christmas. I hope you enjoy the break. I know this time of year can be busy. It can be hard for a lot of people if you're missing a loved one. So I just hope that for those of us who are fortunate enough to have our loved ones near, that we savor that time that we have together and come back refreshed and ready to go to work.
Okay. Now me, and then, Janice, speak up, lady.
Yeah.
Ms. Karakas.
That's okay, Addison.
No,
I'm in
Ms.
good company.
Karakas.
I'll keep it short and sweet, too. Mr. Daggett, I'd like to say thank you to you. I know that I told you I'll always tell you the truth, and I gave you some grief at times, and we disagreed on stuff, but we always were able to explain to me why, or me to you. And I wish you all the best in your new situation. So thank you for coming on, and look forward to you being the cushion, I guess. And then just Merry Christmas to everybody. I hope everybody enjoys the holiday time with their family, as Ms. Gilhausen said. And don't eat too many cookies. Merry Christmas.
Okay, I have one little, before I say my good nights, we have one little bit of business. I received a message, and there is an insurance committee meeting next Wednesday, and the inquiry was who from the board will be at the insurance committee meeting next Wednesday to represent the school board. I wanted to talk to you. I'm working on the committees. If you'll pass these things out. This is last year's committees, but what we try to do on these committees is balance it out so that one person isn't doing everything and everybody has a little bit to do it. It makes the work smoother. But Ms. Condon, when she was on the board, served as the insurance committee person, and so we are minus that person. And I just wondered if there was a volunteer who would like to come and serve on the insurance committee next Wednesday, and we're going to just sit here until someone says, I would love to do that. What time is that insurance committee meeting? What did you say? Okay. 4 o'clock next Wednesday. Ms. Bola, okay. Ms. Bola said that she will, you will be at the insurance committee representative, but they don't meet that often, right? So I'm going to put, so Dr. Legutko, if you will inform the insurance committee that Mrs. Bola will be there next Wednesday at 4 o'clock, and to put her on their email list. Thank you, Ms. Bola. Now, if you'll look at these ladies. Okay, if you will look at these from last year, here's what I want you to do, because this doesn't have to be decided tonight other than the insurance committee, but if there is, on your graduation assignment, if you have a friend, relative, cousin, uncle, aunt, somebody, for some reason you want to go to a particular high school, please let me know.
I'd like Oakleaf. I'd like Fleming Island High School.
All right, just a minute.
His daughter's graduating.
No. No, Mr. Davis, I believe, is going to cover Oakleaf this year. Okay, who did you need Fleming Island? Well, see, this will help me if I know, and if not, then the rest of us can fill in the blanks. But last year I needed Fleming Island because of my next door neighbors. But if y'all have a preference, or looking down these committees, now I was told we don't need a controlled open enrollment, that basically we just need a board member to go to the lottery the day they draw the lottery. So we'll change the wording on that. That's just a one-time thing. But if there's anything that the chairman always does teacher of the year, the vice chair does the support person of the years. And so anything else, if y'all have a burning ambition, let me know. Or I may be just calling to ask you, because we've got the legislative liaison, and now that you're on insurance, but we've got, the chamber and economic development. You'll keep those? Well, we might can settle this right now.
Did you want to keep the legislative liaison?
Oh, that reminds me, I've got to say this. As far as the legislative...
I'll do it if you don't want.
Just a minute. As long as the legislative liaison and the value adjustment board are two kinks here, because what happens is we do our committee appointments at the end of the year, but midway next year, the legislative committee
June or July.
comes up. So whoever is appointed now would serve until mid-year, and then we'll have to bring it up to get one at the middle of this next year. And the same thing with the value adjustment, because right now it's Ms. Gilhausen, but then the middle of the summer, we will have to name a new one. So for right now, you'll still be value adjustment, and Ms. Bola will still be legislative, and Janice, I'll leave you as the alternate. So Ms. Bush, we'll let these stay exactly as they are. And that leaves very little. In fact, if y'all look at that, we might primarily, except for just a few tweaking with the teacher of the year and the support person, keep about the same thing we've got now. But I'll give you a final hard copy next month. I just wanted to get that insurance person nailed down.
I do have a question.
Yes.
I realize Keystone Heights High School students, seniors are probably going to be waived and not have to have a graduation, but I don't see them on here.
Well, that's because we have too many high schools, and last year we didn't have them covered, and you sent some senior staff. I think it was...
Through the chair, we, when all the graduations were on the same day last year.
Day.
So the year before that, we had one that was offset.
Right.
So again, everyone will be this year. So there'll be one that will have to send senior staff.
Is one high school going to do a different night?
No,
Yes.
ma'am.
Ridgeview High School is
they may
doing
have
Monday
already-
again, unless they changed it, but we
I'll
got
get
a
through.
memo.
I think they may have, through the chair, may have made it consistent on the same night. I'll get information. sent.
He'll have to...
I thought we got a memo from Mrs. Grugretto saying that it's already been changed to Monday, only
Oh, she
because
may
they
have
couldn't
changed?
get it.
Yeah, then
They
originally she
gave
was
it
trying to go to the same
Duval.
date, so I'll check. I'll check for all.
Pretty
and send it
sure.
to
Okay,
the
well,
board.
we'll get that worked out.
I'd
But-
like to be Keystone then, since I don't see them change Clay High, since I'll be
Well,
there.
certainly you can go to Keystone. I will put you down right now for Keystone.
Okay.
I'll do
Because-
Clay High. I've never done Clay High.
All right, Clay, all right, you want to do Clay?
Sure.
All right.
Well, you're a
You've got,
graduate.
well, you want to do Orange? You want to do Orange, you want to do Orange Park? Well, then that just leaves me, I'll figure out. I can do that. Well, I think I went to Middleburg like 2 years ago. Well, there's 2 schools left. What else have we missing?
Ridgeview is not on here.
Yeah, but if they do have it on Monday night, anybody who wants to can go to Ridgeview. Okay. Well, I'll do Middleburg. That solves that.
And is the Board of County Commissioners liaison, it's under Betsy's, would you like me to do that? I mean, what does that entail?
That's fine.
I mean, unless somebody else is doing that.
I don't know if anybody,
Okay,
we'll
so what
keep you on
exactly does
that
that
and the
mean?
insurance
They go
and,
to the
and,
Board of County Commissioners?
Yeah.
Okay.
yeah. And then, okay, I'll figure out the rest and get a hard copy out to you. All right, and let me finish up by saying,
Well, you're gonna.
I'm real pleased with the way that we were able to get through the meeting tonight. You know, when we leave here, we all got a smile on our face. That's what it's all about. We're working here for the students and for the best interest of the district. It's the Christmas season now, and we have lots to be thankful for. I know we also keep in our thoughts and prayers the people in the Panhandle and the people in California who still have nothing. It saddens me, but sometimes we don't understand why things happen. I was able yesterday to watch some of President Bush's service and the his son speaking. It was the end of an era. This man was a statesman and a gentleman, and I think well respected. I loved George and Barbara Bush. He was a true gentleman and an example of devotion and love of family, and served us well. And on a lighter note, I hope everybody has a great Christmas. Be safe and enjoy your family and your friends. And with that, I will say the meeting is adjourned.